You can draw this in Procreate. You can draw this lovely landscape without any experience in Procreate or experience with drawing, because I will guide you through every single step. We'll be using brushes that are already in the app Procreate and some free brushes that you can find through freefromflow.com. And yes, those are absolutely 100% free. So if you're ready, let's get started. Just don't forget that once you have finished following this tutorial that you can share your result on Instagram and tag me in the image, not just in the description. That way I will be able to find your work and perhaps we'll see it in the next You Can Draw This video tutorial. The canvas we're using for this tutorial is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels and the color profile is set to sRGB. And I have created a color palette which you can download for free through the link in the description. First thing we'll do for this tutorial is go to the layer menu, that's these two little squares, and click background color. And we'll pick this first color in the color palette to make our canvas entirely dark. Now let's go to layer 1 and we are going to the wrench here in the top left corner, then to canvas and turn on drawing guide. Then go to edit drawing guide and let's pick symmetry right here at the bottom. And now we can't really see that line because it's pretty dark, but here at the top you can change the color with this slider and I'm going to set it to a very light pinkish color and then just click done. Now let's create a heart shape. The brush we'll use is the monoline brush, which you can find under calligraphy. And for our color, we will pick this second color right here in the color palette. I have the size set to 30%. And let's draw our heart. Since we have symmetry turned on, we can just draw it on one side and it'll show up on the other side as well. So let's just start at the bottom here and make a fluid line going upwards and then down to create a simple heart shape like this. And you might need a couple of tries. Who knows, maybe I had like 100 tries and I cut them all out. You can just keep undoing and keep making your heart until you have something that looks like this. And then you can fill your shape by just dragging in the color like this. And for your information, I had 5 retries, but I did have a lot of practice before I started recording this video. So don't feel bad if you need a lot of retries. Now that we have our heart, we can actually turn off the drawing guide. We can go back to the wrench and turn it off right here because we won't be needing it anymore. Now, if you like the shape of your heart, but you want it to be a little bit bigger or taller, then you can just go to the arrow here. That's the move tool. And you can use it to adjust your heart a little bit. I'm going to set it to freeform here. And I'm going to turn off snapping and magnetics for now. And I want it to be a little bit taller, a little bit wider, so that we have a lot of space for our landscape scene. And now I want it to be in the exact center of my canvas. So you can go to snapping and then turn on snapping here. And you can make it snap to the center of your canvas. You'll see these orange lines and that means it's in the center. And then you can just click the arrow to get out of that menu. Next, we'll go back to the layer menu. That's the two little squares, and we'll click the plus for a new layer on top of our heart layer. And we are going to click this layer and then turn on clipping mask. Now whatever we draw on this new layer will only show up on that heart shape. We will still be using the monoline brush. And for the color, we'll start with this third color here at the bottom to create our first mountain or hill in the center. We'll start about here and then we'll make a wobbly line up and we'll go down on the right side. Now loop around here and close your shape, and then you can drag in the color to fill it. I want more mountains and I want them to be behind this first one. So what you need to do is click layer 1 first and then create a new layer by clicking the plus, and it'll be between the heart and that mountain that we just created. So when we start drawing on layer 3, it'll be behind that mountain. Let's pick this second color over here. And I will start about here and make a hilly, mountainy, wobbly shape here. And we'll go back up here on this side, all the way to the right. And again, loop around so you can close your shape and then drag in the color. Now, if by any chance, when you fill your color, it either spills out onto your entire canvas or it leaves a little like edge, then you might need to adjust your color drop threshold. Drag in the color and then hold your pen, and then you can adjust the color drop threshold here at the top and make sure that you go a long way to the right so you don't get that little edge. Now, one more mountain range. We'll go back to the two little squares, click layer 1 first and then click the plus for a new layer. And this time we'll pick the lightest color over here. Let's start about here this time. We'll wobble up. And then we'll go down towards the middle, and then we'll wobble our way back up here, all the way to the right, and then loop around again. And be sure to close your shape before you drag in the color to fill your shape. And now let's add our couple to the scene. Let's go all the way to the top, click layer 2, and then click the plus for a new layer. And now we will go to the treasure chest brushes. Like I said, you can go to freefromflow.com to sign up and get all these brushes for free. Here we have the new couple brush. If you have already signed up to the treasure chest, then just check the weekly newsletter email. Now let's pick the same color as this mountain. You can hold your finger on the screen to pick the color. The brush size is set to 10%, and let's drop these people in. There we have them, and now you can just go to the arrow, be sure to set it to uniform and turn off that snapping. And now you can move it around, you can make them a little bit bigger, and I'll place them right here, and then you can click the arrow to get out of the menu. Next, let's add a gradient to the sky. We'll go to the layer menu, go to layer 1, and let's click that layer and turn off drawing assist. We don't need that symmetry tool anymore. You can see it says assisted, and that means that symmetry is still turned on for this layer. So click that, then click it again and turn on alpha lock. Now this heart is locked, and we will only be able to paint on that heart and not outside of it on that checkerboard pattern. Now let's go to the brushes and grab a soft brush, an airbrush. We'll go to the airbrushing brushes and pick that soft brush. And for the color, first we'll start with this third color right here in the color palette. The opacity of the brush is set to 70%, and the size is at 10%. And let's make a horizontal lighter line here, right in the middle of the sky. And then we'll switch to this orange color, and we'll drop that underneath it to get a nice warm glow in our sky. And then we'll switch to that lighter color over here and make the bottom area even lighter. Of course, this doesn't look like a nice smooth gradient yet. We'll go to the magic wand in the menu and then pick Gaussian blur and set it to layer. Now if you drag your pen or your finger to the right, you can blur this layer and get a nice smooth gradient. I'll go for 24%. And then just click that magic wand again to get out of there. Now I would like to add some mist between these mountains. Let's go to the layer menu, and first we'll add some mist on top of layer 4. That's the mountains in the back. Let's click the plus for a new layer, and we'll still be using the soft brush. Then let's pick this fourth color over here. Let's go over the bottom area of these mountains. Just add a little bit of a mist. Not too much, Just a nice smooth gradient. And if it's starting to look unsmooth, then just use that Gaussian blur and you can make it look smoother. Now to layer 3, let's click the plus for a new layer over there. And let's add a little bit of mist here as well. So using that same color, just a little bit. Now finally, let's do the same in front of layer 2. I'll click the plus for a new layer. And I want to make sure that this fog, that this mist doesn't show up outside of the heart. So we do need to set it to clipping mask. Don't forget that. I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's go for 17%. Now just start here at the bottom of the heart and slowly work your way up. I'm using very little pressure on my pen, making these transparent strokes. You can just make multiple strokes on top of each other to make this mist more opaque. Now that we have all this mist, let's move back to the sky. Let's click layer 1, that's the heart shape. And let's click the plus to create a new layer on which we will create a moon. We'll go back to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And for the color, we will use this one over here. That's the 6th color in the color palette. And we are going to create a circle first. Just draw a circle, hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And if you hold one finger on your screen, it'll snap to a perfect circle. Let's make it about this big. And then just drop in the color to fill your moon. Now I would like to remove a part of this moon and I'm going to use the eraser for that. And I want to use the eraser set to the monoline brush. Now a quick way to do that, when you have your brush set to the monoline, you can just click and hold the eraser and now it'll be set to the monoline brush as well. Now we'll create a circle again, but this time it'll be an erase circle. You can again hold your pen in place to get that quick shape. And if you let go and then go to edit shape, you can edit the shape. And we can see, we can decide how we want our moon to look. I want to go for something like this. And then I'll click the eraser again and erase the rest. Otherwise, it would just look like a very weird moon. Alright, now we have our moon sickle. Let's duplicate this layer. You can do that by sliding to the left and then click duplicate. Now go to the bottom layer, that's layer 9. Underneath layer 9, and then go to the magic wand and pick Gaussian blur and set it to layer. Now drag your pen to the right again and let's go for something around 10% to give it a nice blur. And then click the magic wand again. If you feel that your moon is a little bit too big, you can easily fix that, or if you feel like it's too small or whatever, you can select layer 9 and layer 9 by dragging to the right. Now we have both layers selected. Then if you go to the move tool, you can move both layers around. And you can place your moon wherever you like. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'll place it over here. And then just click the arrow to get out of the menu. Now let's also add some stars. I'll create a new layer. You can do it either on top of the moon or underneath. I'll just click layer 1, click the plus for a new layer, and then go to the brushes and then to luminance. And we'll use the glimmer brush. I'll have to show you my settings. When you go to stroke path, I have spacing set to max and jitter set to max as well. And when you go to shape, I have scatter set to max as well. And then click done. And you are ready to use your glimmer brush. We'll be using the same color as we used for the moon. The opacity of the brush is set to 100% and the size is at 15%. And now let's just add a couple of stars to our sky. And I'll focus on the top area. And I won't be adding any stars to that bottom area. Now I want to add a couple of clouds. We will add them on top of the mountains, so we'll go to layer 8, click the plus for a new layer, and then use clipping mask again because we don't want our clouds to go outside of that heart shape. In case you are having issues right now that you can't make any more layers, then you can just merge the layers, the mountain layers with the mist layers. Or you could actually also just merge all the mist and mountain layers because we won't be doing anything with those anymore. Alright, so for our clouds, let's go to the calligraphy brushes again and use the monoline brush. And let's pick this last color here in the color palette. And I'll make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 14%. And let's just make some simple cloud shapes. We'll start about here. I wanted to cover that mountain a little bit. And I'm just making a very basic mist-like cloud shape. If you want to learn how to paint realistic looking clouds in Procreate, then you might like my Flows Fundamentals class at Patreon. There I show you how you can approach painting clouds. Let's make a small one here. And drag in the colors to fill these cloud shapes. Now let's lower the opacity of this layer. Let's go to the layer menu by clicking the two little squares, and then for layer 12 with the clouds, click the N here and drag this opacity slider to the left. And I'll drag it all the way to 35%. So now we have nice transparent looking clouds. Finally, let's add the trees to our scene. We're going to do that on a separate layer on top of all the others. So click layer 5 here and then click the plus for a new layer. We'll go back to the treasure chest brush pack with all the free brushes and we will pick Pine Tree Long over here. And for the color, we will pick that first color that we used for our background. And now we are going to cover the left and right side of our heart to adjust the frame of this lovely scene a little bit. The opacity of the brush is at 100% because transparent trees don't really exist. And the size is at 57%. But you can definitely play around with that. Now let's drop them in on the sides. Drop in a couple on this side as well. And then eventually you'll have something like this. And there you have created a lovely looking scene. I hope you have enjoyed following this tutorial. If you did, then do be sure to check out the other You Can Draw This videos as well. There's a whole bunch of them. I'm looking forward to seeing your results. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.